Well, I think you found the button. It says live on Facebook.
There we go. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. We had a little I had a technical difficulty this morning. I'm Connie Haworth. I'm the executive director here at St. Anthony's Senior Living, and it is my pleasure this morning to have Samantha Shepherd with Shepherd Elder Law on with us. Good morning, Samantha.
Good morning. What a strange world we live in that I can see your face so beautifully in your gorgeous lipstick, but not see you in person and give you a lovely hug.
And this is COVID, right? So I keep asking, what is post-COVID going to be like? I can't wait to hug people. That's my thing. I just want to hug. I'm a hugger.
I'm a touchy person myself. I think I'm one of those children that, from birth needed lots of touch, and it hasn't changed. So I'm going to start mauling people as soon as they let me out of my
Right, of our little cocoons that we've been trapped in for almost a year now. It's been a long year.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate
Thank you so much for being here. Tell us a little bit about your firm, Samantha.
So Shepherd Elder Law Group is a firm of dedicated, I would say, almost do-gooders. We really like helping seniors, and it seems that it has attracted a certain kind of a person that has patience and interest in serving the senior population. So Shepherd Elder Law is, at its very core, an estate planning firm. We do wills, we do trusts, we help with probate, and then what gets more complicated, then that's sort of our forte. How do you pay for the care? What does care look like in Kansas City? What's an independent living, an assisted living? Do I need veterans benefits? Do I need Medicaid? How do I get Medicare working? Can I gift? All the things that people ask as they age and their long-term care becomes a priority. I think COVID has made people so sensitive to this. So people who are, I don't know, let's go with 30. In my mind, a 30-year-old, real young, they are turning to me now and saying, what do I need? And they should.
And those are all questions that I get so often. And of course, the best thing I can do is send them to someone like you for those answers, because you're the specialist in all those things like estate planning and wills and Medicare and Medicaid and all those benefits and gifting. That's a question I get quite frequently. So tell me, Samantha, what does it mean when we say get your affairs in order?
And I wish there was an easy answer for that. That's like, give me the microphone and let me sing my song. Get your affairs in order means every one of you, all of us, we will move on. We will pass away. We don't know when. Each day is a gift. And why is it that lawyers are the last people to get their affairs in order? I'll tell you. But it does tend to be lately during COVID. I've had some friends call me up to say, hey, I do criminal work or I do DUIs. Can you help me get a will or a trust? So it means getting your affairs in order means, think about the military guys. They would have a go box. If you go, what do we need to know? So there's the misconception, I think, is that we only care about death. This whole chapter of life where we become more frail, either something catastrophic happens to us at 23, or the normal course of events. We age, we have a heart condition, we have diabetes, we're 75, we're 85, we're 95. We need some assistance. We are not dead. That's getting your affairs in order. You need a power of attorney. And all of it seems very frightening to people. They think, Connie, that they have to be wealthy. It doesn't matter whether you have a bank account and a car, or if you have $1 million boat in addition to your lake property in your Joko Palace. You're all in the same boat. You have stuff. You have a body. So in those two chapters, in your life, what do you need? And in your death, what do you need? I'd love to tell you what I think you should do, but I bet you're getting anxious talking to me thinking, gosh, is my box ready?
Well, I was very thankful when my grandmother passed away because she had planned well. And, I think the thing that, and my parents have not planned well, but they won't see this, so I can say that out loud. They have not planned well. And so, it makes a difference
I
And
really have to interrupt you. I hope to God nobody brought them a little iPad and just poured it in front of your parents. Look at what your daughter is doing today.
I hope not. I talk about my kids, my husband, and my parents, you know. None of them ever watch though, so I'm good. But
Okay, so your parents have not planned well.
right, they don't have a will, you know, they don't have powers of attorney. And I'm like, you know, this is sort of the kind of things that I do for a living, is work with people, and I know they need these things. Oh, well, you know. And so, you know, they put it off and put it off till now he's 91 and she's 88. So, you know, you mentioned 30 years old. At what age do we need to sort of start this process?
At the very, very, very beginning stages, 18, you need the basic stuff. So an 18-year-old who's heading off to KU, your child needs a power of attorney. Now, 4 documents is all they need. Power of attorney for healthcare, power of attorney for finances, a HIPAA, which says who gets to have access to their medical, and the advance directive. I do or I do not want to live in a persistent vegetative state. Because they're young, think about, you assume as the parent, you have access. They're your kids. You're still paying their bill. If they're in a coma, you're out. You can't get into the bank to see how much they have. You can't communicate with their landlord. You can't access their medical. It's kind of a nightmare. The reality though, let me, that's sort of a way off the spectrum. Will I ever get the college kids to come in? We do have a program at Shepherd where we have for $275, we let the kids come in without the mama and do their life docs. They just meet with a younger attorney that they can relate with, and not that I'm not young, but they meet with a younger attorney and they just whip out those 4 documents and they're done. The rest of everybody needs a chance to sit and say, okay, tell me about you, Connie. You're married, you have kids, you mentioned my husband, my kids. So you've got a picture. And that conversation is what you need. You may or may not need a will or a trust, but you need someone that you can have confidence in, that you can say, tell me a little bit about what you think I need. And that's what a quote unquote estate planner does. So they would say, so you own a house, is it titled in your name and your husband's name? And you go, I think. So you need then organization. Let's get a copy of that deed. Most people think, I'll take care of it later. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know that's pretty normal. But later comes and your parents are in their 90s. What's the hardest part about dying when you're in your 90s for the kids? You don't know what they have.
Right.
I send you out this nasty little questionnaire. I say nasty and little because it's long. It says, what's your name? What's your address? What's your race? What's your social security number? How many times have you been married? Where are you living? What do you have? Do you have life insurance? Do you have a funeral plan? Do you have a plot? Do you want to be cremated? Do you have a checking account? You're all naked. It's horrible.
Right.
But then you take the time to go, oh yeah, and I have a 1/6 interest in a lake property that is my siblings and all your stuff. If you become incapacitated or when you die, it's not particularly fun for the person who comes along trying to figure it out. What do we have? People always ask me, well, how do I know what they have? And I say, well, watch the mail. It's January. They're going to get 1099s in. It's a game. It's a game of search through the old file cabinets. You find Mama's John Hancock policy from 1979. Is it still in force? That's not a fun job. So if you've at least done that and you touch that every 3 years, you're doing your kids a service. Even if you don't do a will, you've at least taken the time to say, here's the lawyer I met with who wanted me to do a will. And I told her, and well, I took the time. I thought about you kids. Like I made it to the first base.
The first step.
Yeah.
Well, and we had that happen actually when my father-in-law passed away, in that we didn't know that he had some money in a CD or something. And so a few years later, we get something in the mail that says, you know, you have unclaimed property. And I'll tell you, our phone started ringing off the hook with people who were saying, we can help you get your unclaimed property. And all you had to do was actually just, fill out a form and put the death certificate with it, and the money was sent to us. But there were plenty of people who wanted to take advantage of that and get a little, their little cut out of the money, just to get it for us when we could get it for ourselves. So, there's some sly foxes out there.
Indeed, there are. That's one of those disturbing things. We could talk for hours about things that have happened to both just me during this time of COVID. And I guess I believe in good people are good. I got an email from Chase this last week that looked very legit and kind of scary. So I called them up and they didn't send it. So, and it looked legit.
Right.
So there are always predators out there, and seniors tend to be, right now, the seniors tend to be a more trusting group in their generation. I want to be in it. I want to be in it. I want to be that way. I expect people to be good. I want people to be kind and walk over and neighborly. And that's the generation that right now are our 80 and 90-year-olds. They expect the good things from us.
That's
so what would I tell
grew
your
up with.
Sorry, I interrupted you.
I'm sorry. I said that's what they grew up with. That's what life is like for them.
Whereas my children are growing up cynical.
Right. My generation will have a lot more questions, be very suspicious.
Definitely, they are. They'll do a background check on you and figure out who your Facebook friends are. Or not Facebook. What do the kids do? They'll Snapchat you and
Snapchat and Instagram.
Well, I'm trying to keep up with all that. You have to when you have younger kids. All right, but you'd asked me a question earlier about gifting. So staying on task. Gifting is one of those things for me that gets me, I get giggly about it because there's so much misinformation. Hey, something else popped up on my screen. It's in your face. So hold on. Whoop, now I can see you again. Gifting. I remember my dad has passed away, but he said, Samantha, you've made that a word. I don't even know that's a word. You give someone something, but you talk about gifting all the time. I go, okay, yeah, I have made it a word. In my mind, in the back of my mind, rich people had gifting issues. And you would see books and movies about sitting around the table in the very pretentious house, enormous, long, dark tables, and the reading of the will. And then that's what I thought about when I thought about, the gifts. That doesn't happen, by the way. We don't sit around in those.
I thought it was only my family that didn't have that.
It's not real. It's not real. But you can give away anything you want to in your lifetime. I mean, that's just a general deal, right? You can give away money to charity, and our tax system benefits you for that. But when you're trying to take your wealth, whether your wealth is your house or $100,000, and you give it to somebody else, the IRS is suspicious because we have a system, a tax system that says, look, there's a limit to how much you can gift without us imposing a tax. But when I tell people about this, they're like, yeah, we know you can only give 10,000. Well, that's what the rule was way back when. The rule has changed, and currently anyone can give to another person, any person, no relative, 15,000. Okay, well, you got to stop. You got to let me finish. Don't stop me is what I meant to say. So let's say, Connie, oh yeah, your husband's not here. So what's his name?
Mark.
So you and Mark can give 15,000 each to one of your favorite children. They're not watching, so who's your favorite? I'm just kidding.
I'll tell each of them individually, honey, you're my favorite. Honey, you're my favorite.
I do that.
Got to keep them close.
They all actually believe that is exactly how I want it. And I do whisper that in your ears if my children will watch, and they will definitely not watch. I always say, you're my favorite. All right, so your favorite child, you decide you're going to give him 15,000 and your husband gives him 15,000. So he pockets 30,000. First question, does he pay tax? He's just received 30,000. The answer is no. No, he does not. He just says, thanks, Mom. Thanks, Dad. You guys are the best. See ya. Can you give him more? Yes, you can. So let's say you decide to give him 20,000. And remember, the husband can give 15. So you're actually only going over your limit by 5. You gave 15, he gave 15, he's at 30, and you're special, you want to give him an extra 5. So he's walking out with 35. You've used 5,000 too much. Oh, so does anything happen to your son? Does he pay tax on the 35? No. What happens to you? Well, now you've used up 5,000 of your lifetime exemption. But guess what your lifetime exemption is? Just take a wild guess.
50,000.
11.7 million each. It was 11.4 tied to inflation. I quit counting. So in my head, unless you're going to have an estate of over 23 million, you and your husband can give and give and give. So most of my clients don't have a problem.
I'll be fine.
Well, you might work because you love seniors, and you do. You
And I
wouldn't
do.
stay in the field. But if you, maybe what you'd run a foundation if you had 22.
If I had that much money, I would definitely would. Now,
So
what
the-
about the house? What about, giving, putting your child's name on the house?
Oh gosh, please don't do it. Just don't give away money to children. So you give money to children at Christmas time and birthdays, and maybe you're doing, I'm sure I've overgiven my poor children. They're probably terribly spoiled. I have the youngest one's 15, so I'm definitely ruining him.
Right.
And I enjoy every single
That
second.
is your
ruining him.
privilege to overdo it.
He is a little spoiled. Occasionally he'll tell me that. So I could give him money. And if I gave him my house, would there be a good idea? Which is, you're saying that as we age, is it a good idea to give the kids the house? It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea. People do it for the wrong reasons. They think there's a tax benefit. Well, it's exactly the opposite. If you hold on to property until you die, then the person who will receive it is in a better tax position. Okay? It's something very simple like that. Don't give away your house thinking that you're helping out on the taxes. It's wrong. Now, is there a benefit to giving away your house because you might move into a nursing home? Oh, if I could just say, yes, but please don't do it. There's other ways to accomplish the same objective. It's not the right thing to do. You can reserve a right to live in the house legally in a couple of different with a couple of different ways. You need a lawyer. There's some paperwork that goes with that. You can't just scribble out on a notepad, I get to stay here. Here's the deed. Not gonna work. They're gonna say, there's a great nursing home right down the street with your name on it, Mama.
Yes.
I hate when people think, oh, well, I'm getting older now, so I'm gonna put my daughter's name on my bank account. I get sort of a visceral reaction to that, Connie. It's what if your daughter is in a car accident or gets divorced or gets sued or is bankrupt or bought all those bad things that happen to people? What if that happens to your daughter? That's your money and her money. As soon as her name is on the account, it's her money too.
Right. Never
So
thought.
it's an easy fix, but people who are scared of lawyers or who are scared of this word, power of attorney, they just don't know. So we should all know power of attorney. If you give your daughter the power to access your funds to pay your bills, that's a whole lot better than putting your daughter on as a co-owner.
Right.
Always, that's a better idea.
Right. Never thought of that, but it makes perfect sense the way you've explained it. Now, in Missouri, we have something that's like transfer on death. I think my in-laws, had a vehicle that was titled that way. The house was titled that way. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Transfer on death, or TOD, T as in Tom, transfer on death, or POD, pay on death. It's an instant automatic way when someone dies that you become the owner of something. So let's go for simple. Here's my cell phone. I could write on it. It says Samantha Shepherd, right? I could write on it, transfer, TOD, Connie, you're my new best friend, you get my phone. So a cell phone doesn't have some kind of indication of ownership, right? Okay, it just possession. But what do we have that tells us that we own a car, for example?
The title.
Okay. On the title, it has your name on it. Maybe it has your husband's name on it too.
Yes.
You can go to the Department of Vehicles for nothing. And you can put, you walk in and you say, with your mask and your appointment, and God knows what that's like right now. You can walk in and say, if we still have this car, we want it to go to our favorite son. And they'll say, okay, they'll put it in the system and they'll put on there TOD, Connie's favorite son. So it actually will have his name.
Right.
And in the front, on the very document, on the front, it will say Connie and husband, TOD, boy. Does that cost anything? No. That son will be so grateful when you pass away. Now, does it prevent you from selling the car? Nope. So you get into the habit of when you buy a car, you automatically say we want it to be jointly titled with a transfer on death. That is a blessing. I tell you what, when people pass away, I always, I go, was there a car? A car. There's always a car. And then people always say, oh, it's a junky car. We're just going to give it away. Well, you don't have the right.
Right.
To give away the car. So you now have created a little probate problem. Probate is just the court process dealing with decedents, which is dead people's. So probate is either for if we have somebody who has dementia while they're alive, but it's also the dead people stuff. So probate costs money. Probate means lawyers. Probate means time. So use the transfer on death on your car. It's also good on property, and sometimes that's the right thing to do, Connie. So did you, when your, was it grandparents, somebody had, your in-laws, you said?
In-laws. Mm-hmm.
Did they have a transfer on death deed by chance on the house?
They did. They did have a transfer on death deed for land and a house.
Okay, excellent. So transfer on death in Missouri is called a beneficiary deed. Not every state has it. Our neighboring state, Kansas, we have it. So I work in both of these two states because we're in the middle. I don't know where I am half the time. So Kansas and Missouri both have this concept that you can take a piece of real estate and record just like the car, not the same place. You don't go to the Department of Motor Vehicles. You go to the Recorder of Deeds. At the Recorder of Deeds, yeah, you can try that. I'm here to fix my house and my car. No,
and my car at the same time.
So the Recorder of Deeds has a deed for every piece of property that's out there. So you go to your county Recorder of Deeds. Again, I'm not going to recommend that you do it without a little bit of, have that preliminary consult with the lawyer to say, what do we have? Will we have a tax when we die? Will we have a tax when we give? Will we have a, you need to get your ducks in order. Mm-hmm. But let's just say you've decided everything I have is going to my favorite son. No discussion. I don't care if he's divorced. I don't care if he's disabled. I don't care if he's bankrupt. Everything is going to him. He's the prodigal son. You could go into the Recorder of Deeds, do a deed that's called the beneficiary deed. And here's what it says. I, Connie, and my husband, we are going to give the house to our special favorite son, no matter what. Then your big if we still own the house when we die. So there's no harm if you sell it. He doesn't have a right until you die. It's kind of cool.
It works very well for, with my in-laws' vehicles and property. It was very simple process.
It's beautifully simple.
I really appreciated that they'd done that. It made it so easy for us at a time when you have so much going on, when you're grieving their death and, you have all these loose ends to tie up, to just make that so much more simple. We were very thankful. We're both only children, so we don't have, there were no siblings to help with anything. And so we had a lot on our plate, and it as their child, I was very thankful. Now, what about wills? Do wills need to be filed like with the probate court, or what's your recommendation there?
All right, good one. So everyone has a will. Isn't that a funny thing to say? If you don't have a will that you made, we in the state legislature, we made one for you.
That was so nice.
No, you'll be traumatized. So I on your earlier comment, what I was really thinking is, how did they know, your in-laws? How did they know? Because they didn't have Facebook. How did they know to sit with somebody and figure out, we should actually make it easy for Connie and our son. We could do this. This could be transfer on death. How did they know? So awareness and education, I wish they, well, they're certainly not getting you and me going around knocking on doors doing our informational seminars right now. So
Not right now.
So a will. Everybody has a will. I think that you're best off if you actually make the choice rather than letting the state make the choice. So every single will, all of them, even the ones that we make at the state legislative level, they all don't work unless they go to court. So I've had the funniest stories, and I shouldn't laugh because people were telling me their heart stories. They said, I walked in to the bank with my dad's will and they wouldn't give me the account. And that's what people think.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work like that. Every will has to go to the court. Think probate court. Someone passes away, here's the will. Do we record it ahead of time? No. We record it when you die. And so there's different terminology for the different counties, states across the country about what we call it. But in simple terms, the physical original goes into the court. And a probate is either opened or not opened. If you did a good job, which means that most of the time my clients are going to do a great job, then you don't have to actually pay a lawyer anything. You don't have to open a probate. You're done. And you're done because you took the time. Your will was the, oh my goodness, what if? My daughter Connie opened the filing cabinet and she found the 1972 stock certificate for GM. What happens then? She forgot it. That's what the will should capture. Organized people have a plan already. They write down, I have a house, I have a car, I have a bank account. I'm going to put them in the trust so it can be divided between my 3 kids and my grandkids, but not some to my ne'er-do-well nephew and not some to my drug addicted, whatever. You can write all your rules. Or if you have one kid who's perfectly healthy, has married a saint, will never get disabled, will never become a drunk or a broke person or an invalid, or then do a transfer on death directly to that kid. And then voila, boom, it doesn't cost you anything. But a trust is just the way that you avoid going into court. It's a simple concept. It's not for only the uber wealthy. It's just a simple probate avoidance bucket.
And so when should you start a trust? I mean, at what point in your life?
When should you start a trust? In my opinion, the minute that you become a homeowner. Because it's a huge asset.
Right.
I would also say, really, truly, you asked me, when should you start estate planning? I'll tell you, as an attorney, the moment I hatched a baby was when I went, oh God, I have a responsibility that is outside of me. I love that little human. I fell in love instantly. What happens if, no one's ever loved anyone as much as you love that kid, right?
Right.
And who's going to get him? And the problem is nobody's good enough. So I've got all these new parents who can't do a will because nobody could, there's no perfect answer. So I pushed them. That was one of my fun things. I said, look, no one's perfect, but if you die today, and then they start going down a path of maybe my sister went. I said, you know what? Forget it. It's your mother. Because they're 26 and mama's 46 and mother is going to show up. I said, when your mother is 70, come back to me and then we'll change it from your mother to whomever. But right now, who do you want to take over your kid? So for the simplest, when should I? You must do a basic will as soon as you have a baby so that you can tell everyone who gets your kiddo. Even if you have no money, you'll probably have a little term life insurance.
Sure, something. Now, I'm glad you said this. So I'm going to bring my son and his wife to see you because the first grandbaby is due in 3 weeks. So
exciting.
I want to make sure that mama gets kidding.
That is really very funny.
But it's true, right?
I want them to think in the present. And when they go too far into the future, the reality is they are much more likely to parent their own children until their children have flown the coop and they are old and sitting on the beach in Jamaica. But it's the what if right now that I care about.
Right.
No. I wish I could, and I'm very bossy like that. I'll have a family come in and they're 2 doctors. And they don't feel like they have a lot of money. They're young, they've got a lot of debt, but they have the life insurance, but they have the house, and they're going away for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell them, okay, I don't want to plan for the 15 years in the future. I want to plan that you don't come back from Jamaica. I'm so mean, but then they get it. Then they get it. And then I said, look, this is a contingency plan. It doesn't need to be perfect, but I need it today. When you come back after you've had a week to lie on the beach, if you've changed your mind about how badly your mother-in-law is going to raise your daughter, we'll talk about it. But right now,
I love that. I love it.
It's fun.
That is fun. So let's talk just a minute. I get a lot of questions about, how can I find out about applying for Medicaid or what the qualifications are for Medicaid? I get those questions quite a bit. And for me, it's always been hard to find a great resource, but I get the feeling, how people can get that information.
Okay. Thank you. That's sort of setting me up for a speech that could go on. So the short answer is, come to me. The long answer is, it shouldn't have to be that way. And that I could expand. I think that we have a dearth, a complete shortage of people who are able to explain Medicaid in the metro area. So it's a stressful feeling when you need to know and you can't find any information. I've heard it time and time again, families in utter distress. They're normal families who don't ever think that they will need aid from anyone.
Right.
But the cost of aging isn't something that we anticipated because long-term care policies were expensive, or people saved for retirement. They didn't save for the expense of dementia, or they didn't save for the expense of needing a 24-hour caregiver. So they're normal people, typical people who need guidance. And Medicaid isn't for everyone, but it is an amazing concept that you will never have to lose your house. And when people say to me, oh, I'm going to lose my house, I just want to go, okay, I could spend 24 hours with you on Facebook. You will not lose your house. Okay, there are ways, but there's so much stressful misinformation. Now, Medicaid is available for normal people. You can keep a lot of your assets. You can keep a lot of the accumulated wealth that you and your spouse have if one of you is ill and the other isn't. If they're both sick, then that's what the money's for most of the time, unless they have a child with a disability. There are still ways to protect money, but the primary concern I have in my heart is that in the married couple, the one who is more well is stressed out of their gourd because they think, I can't afford $10,000 a month. And they usually can. They just need some peace. They need knowledge about how Medicaid works. So there used to be, this is me sounding ugly, there used to be offices, physical offices where people could walk in Kansas City, open the door and say, hi, social services, my wife is sick. How do I get Medicaid? We don't have those anymore.
No. So, so much easier to know where to refer them back then.
And it's a shame, and maybe it will come back, and all I can do is say, I don't know. I was going to say pray, and I do believe in prayer, but you're not going to be able to kneel and say, dear God, send me a divine message on how Medicaid works. You're going to say, give me peace to navigate through this process. So the people who are more in the know would be the billing individuals in the nursing homes. Mm-hmm. Those ladies or gentlemen have had to figure out the system most of the time. So if you've got someone who's been in billing for a decade, they've figured it out. Now, they may not know all the ways to help you save the money, but then they're going to be able to get you on Medicaid. So who else can help you?
Social workers sometimes.
Social workers, and I'm constantly reaching out to social workers. I love to work with them. I love to educate them, and they educate me back. It's not a one-way street. They'll say, Susie at this office was super helpful. So there's a community around the senior industry. You've found this too. It's like the biggest little clique we've got going in Kansas City. People who love seniors are all out. You don't do this kind of work if you don't get a high on helping people. You go work with some other population. This population wants to hug you and you feel good.
And they always think you look so young. That's the thing. You know,
that's why I'm in it. Oh my goodness.
Right? They're always like, oh, you're beautiful. I'm like, thank you. So
I
young.
am.
Like,
And I feel good. I say, well, I'm 50. Oh, my daughter's 55. I love you already. It's awesome. Okay, what were you asking me? I lost my train of thought for a minute.
Well, we were talking about Medicaid. So, you know, the people, you know, the places, you know, like you said, come to you, you can help them preserve their assets. And, you know, working with maybe a social worker or a billing person, that's not their specialty, but you're someone who can help them do that. So, yeah. Well, Samantha, I appreciate so much. I could talk to you all day about
we could stop recording, pretend that we're working, and this could be the end of our day.
All right.
You are absolutely delightful, and I love talking about these things. So anytime you want to have another chat, just let me know.
We will definitely have you back again. And thank you so much, everyone who tuned in. And St. Anthony Senior Living, we're here every Thursday at 11. And this has been, we call it the joy of aging, because we think there's a lot of joy in being able to age. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you again, Samantha. Bye-bye.
Take care.